Ryuman said that he knows that Bang Taegyu is harassing his brother. Ryuan asks him if he knows everything and how he knows it. But Ryuman counters his question by asking, "Then did you think I wouldn't?" Ryuan thought, "But I didn't want to make it apparent to my brother, who's having a hard time." Ryuman in his mind, "To be honest, I actually didn't know. I first learned of the truth a few hours after returning from my first round 1. My brother, who went out somewhere that day, came back blind after being beaten up by Bang Taegyu." A flashback scene shows where the hospital calls Ryuman informing him that his brother needs him in the hospital immediately, and he immediately leaves. When they get home, Ryuan becomes blind. Ryuman thought, "Because of the foolish and weak me I wasn't able to protect my brother. Sorry, Ryuan, no one will bully you anymore. No one." In the warehouse somewhere in Seoul, Bang Taegyu was bullying 3 men, kicking one of them. Bang Taegyu was angry because he told them to bring 200,000 won each, but they didn't do so. He beats the 3 again and kicks them. While he beats them, 3 of his men watching, saying he's ruthless even to his minions. They say that even the sunbays from other schools don't mess with him. Another man said, "No matter what happens, I shouldn't get on his bad side." Bang Taegyu cracks his neck and says, "I was going to buy a motorbike today from the money I was going to get. You're all so useless." He asks one of his men if he knows anywhere to get money, and they think. Suddenly one man has an idea. He said, "There's that bitch. Your shuttle, Taegyu. That tall guy, curly hair. Why didn't you call that guy?" Bang Taegyu says, Ryuan, "That bastard. I was planning on calling him today anyway. I'm going to beat him up to celebrate New Year's." 2 of his men say that they will rob him blind, and the other man replies, "Yeah, that should work." Bang Taegyu says that guy's practically homeless. He can't bring any money even though I beat the shit out of him. His house also looks worn down and shit. And that bastard doesn't even have parents. He lives just with his brother. As Ryuman and Ryuan arrived, their presence caught the attention of Bang Taegyu's gang. The gang members seem nervous, but upon seeing the 2 brothers they say that they are scared for nothing. Bang Taegyu, while looking at them, made a comment about, "Speak of the devil," and then used derogatory language to insult them, provoking an angry response. He called Ryuman a son of a bitch, and shouted angrily. Ryuman trembled and sought refuge behind his brother, Ryuan, in the face of Bang Taegyu's aggression. Bang Taegyu was curious about Ryuman and asked Ryuan who the person with him was, referring to Ryuman as a bitch, and making rude remarks about him. Ryuman, with a fierce expression, identified himself as Ryuan's brother. Bang Taegyu reacted aggressively, cracking his fingers and making threats. He accused Ryuman of snitching on him and declared that both Ryuman and his brother would pay for it. Bang Taegyu signaled his men to prepare for a fight against Ryuman. As they got ready for battle, one of Bang Taegyu's men taunted Ryuman about his height. Ryuman responded by punching the man in the face, causing him to fall to the ground. Another of Bang Taegyu's men attempted to punch Ryuman, but he evaded the attack and countered by punching the man in the face, sending him tumbling into water drums. The first man he had knocked down earlier also got up, and another man prepared to attack Ryuman. However, Ryuman's swift and skilled counterattacks overwhelmed them. Bang Taegyu, watching the scene, was impressed with Ryuman's boxing skills but believed they wouldn't be enough to face him. He taunted Ryuman, saying that boxing also required physicality. Ryuman mentioned something about the news, prompting Bang Taegyu to inquire further. In the midst of the conversation, he attempted to punch Ryuman but missed. Ryuman dodged all of Bang Taegyu's punches and kicks, leaving Bang Taegyu increasingly frustrated and exhausted. He couldn't understand why he couldn't land a single hit on Ryuman. Ryuman explained that if Bang Taegyu had seen the news, he wouldn't have dared to challenge a player like him. Suddenly, Ryuman's fist began to emit a blue aura, and he unleashed a powerful punch against Bang Taegyu. Bang Taegyu remained on his feet after Ryuman's initial punch, swiftly retaliating. However, when he aimed his next punch at the spot Ryuman had occupied, his opponent had mysteriously vanished. Bang Taegyu's fist struck empty air, leaving him bewildered. Suddenly, a blow from an unexpected angle struck his blind spot, causing him to clutch his mouth in pain, resulting in the loss of one of his teeth. This infuriated him, and he attempted to strike Ryuman in return, though his efforts were in vain. Ryuman skillfully caught Bang Taegyu's wrist and delivered a series of consecutive punches to his face, all while Bang Taegyu's men watched. Frustration welled up within Bang Taegyu as he pondered, "Is this guy purposely targeting my face? Crafty bastard, if only I could land a single blow. Determined, he readied another punch for Ryuman, but the latter swiftly countered with a neck kick, sending Bang Taegu sprawling. He found himself crawling on the ground, defenseless, as Ryuman continued to rain blows upon him. Ryuman inquired, "Does it hurt?" Inwardly, he couldn't shake the memory of a painful past, even after numerous resets, and he vowed to himself, "I can never forget what I felt that day. I won't allow it to happen again." From his position on the ground, Bang Taegu implored, "Don't come any closer." He raised a hand in a plea for mercy, but Ryuman seized it and retorted, "That's why you shouldn't have crossed my little brother." Ryuman proceeded to break Bang Taegu's fingers, causing him to scream in agony. Witnessing this brutality, Bang Taegu's men decided to retreat, fearing Ryuman's wrath. Ryuan averted his gaze, unable to bear the sight of his brother's ruthlessness. Ryuman warned Bang Taegu, "If you ever mess with him again, Bang Taegu, you know what will happen, right?" With fear in his eyes, Bang Taegu quickly responded, "I won't touch him." Ryuman, wearing a smile, concluded, "That's right, but I'll have to do this properly since you might have a change of heart, right?" Without hesitation, Ryuman proceeded to break Bang Taegu's hand, despite the fact that his fingers were already shattered. Bang Taegu let out a piercing scream of pain. Ryuman and Ryuan had exited the warehouse, and Ryuan was curious about his brother's incredible abilities. He asked Ryuman if he had learned martial arts somewhere. Ryuman clarified, "You didn't watch properly, did you? Players can use their abilities in real life as well." Intrigued, Ryuan asked for more details, and Ryuman decided to demonstrate. He conjured a weapon in his hand, surrounded by a yellow aura, and it transformed into a stiletto from his inventory. Ryuan exclaimed, "A knife from thin air." Ryuman replied with a smile, "Cool, right? You can even summon earned weapons like this." Ryuan was further amazed and asked, "Then, back when you were moving really fast, was that the same kind of thing? You dodged all of his punches?" Ryuman confirmed, "That's right. My agility stat is 11. Ryuan was taken aback and questioned, "Your stat? The stats from games, you mean?" Ryuman explained, "Yes, a normal human has 3 points, and a professional athlete has 10. Curious, Ryuan asked, "What happens if your level increases?" Ryuman responded, "How would I know? I haven't reached that point yet," though he knew he was capable of leveling up, being a regressor himself. He kept this information hidden from Ryuan, thinking about protecting his brother. When he reveals the truth in his 11th regression, there is an instance that Ryuan was kidnapped by a player. Though he gets his revenge, he doesn't want his brother to experience that again because of him. He has to prepare if he wants to protect his brother in the upcoming fights between the players. Instead, Ryuman turned to Ryuan and suggested they get breakfast at the convenience store, knowing his brother was hungry. They made their way to the QS24 convenience store. Inside the store, Ryuan directed Ryuman to the instant noodles section, but Ryuman asked him to wait for a moment. He went to the ATM machine and withdrew money, thinking about how to protect Ryuan in the upcoming fights between players. He withdrew 100,000 won. Returning to Ryuan, who was surprised by the amount, Ryuman explained he needed it for something. He then took his younger brother to an expensive cup ramen stall, assuring him that they could afford it today. Ryuan hesitated at the prices but agreed, choosing chili pork belly, a special treat. Ryuman thought about how he would provide well for Ryuan and give him all the meat he wanted in the near future. While they were enjoying their meal, Ryuman suddenly stood up, leaving Ryuan puzzled. He went to buy a lottery ticket with all the money he had withdrawn. Ryuan couldn't believe his brother's decision and asked why he was spending all their money on the lottery. Ryuan questioned how many tickets he had bought, and Ryuman revealed that he had purchased 20 sheets. Ryuan was baffled, wondering why Ryuman would spend so much money on the lottery when they weren't even sure if they would win anything. Unperturbed, Ryuman started writing the same numbers on all the sheets, declaring, "Just wait and see." Ryuan, still confused, asked, "Wait, what are you doing, Hung? Why are you only picking the same numbers over and over again?" Ryuman confidently replied, "Why, you ask? Because these are the winning numbers." Ryuan and Ryuman got home, eagerly waiting to watch the 1049 Nato draw lots. Ryuan was on the edge of his seat, nervously watching the draw unfold, thinking that they might have wasted 100,000 won. He was so anxious that he couldn't help but bite his nails, and he blurted out, we should have just bought better food with that much money instead. Ryuman, being the voice of reason, advised his brother not to bite his nails. And there it was, the moment of truth. The first number was 3, followed by 18. Ryuan stopped biting his nails as the first and second numbers matched their ticket. As the subsequent numbers were revealed 9, 38, 21, 1, and the bonus number, 5, Ryuan checked their ticket and realized that they had hit the jackpot. He couldn't believe it and exclaimed, "This is insane. We got first place." Ryuan was so excited that he asked his brother to punch his cheeks, but Ryuman suggested he pinch himself instead. Ryuan followed with a question, "This isn't a dream, right?" Ryuman reassured him, asking if he'd prefer it to be a dream, to which Ryuan shook his head and said, "No, never." Overwhelmed with joy, Ryuan stood up and shouted, "Whoa, we got first place." But Ryuman quickly reminded him to keep his voice down, as the neighbors could hear. It was then that Ryuman reflected on his own experiences, thinking, "Well, I was also like that the first time. I even screamed." But after repeating this process dozens of times, it's practically become an annual event I'm obliged to do. I have to quickly gather wealth after each regression because there are already 900 million dead, the economy becomes shaky, and the item trade between players, which will become much more active in the future, is done through cash. Meanwhile, Ryuan couldn't believe that all 100 of their tickets were first-place winners, and he wondered, how much will they give us, then? Ryuman admitted he had no clue, but deep down, he believed it was probably a jackpot big enough to shake the world. The next day, Ryuman found himself in front of Manhwa Bank, on a mission to claim his winnings. His thoughts were calm, having collected the first-place prize dozens of times before. Approaching a bank employee, he confidently stated, "I came here to collect the Natto first-place prize." The employee, surprised and somewhat skeptical, responded with a congratulatory tone, "Ah, is that so? Congratulations, sir." Unbeknownst to Ryuman, the employee had a revelation. He recalled a conversation with a colleague where they discussed the astounding fact that 115 tickets had won the first place this time. His colleague had exclaimed, "Yeah, it's crazy, right? But the crazier thing is that 100 of those came from one place." The employee had wondered if one person had bought all of those tickets. His colleague's advice was clear: regardless, if anyone tells you they bought their ticket from the Yonwei branch, call the president of the bank immediately. They'd be a VVIP guest. Got it. Returning to reality, Ryuman noticed the employee's abrupt change in demeanor and politely said, "Excuse me." The employee quickly composed himself and requested, "I apologize, but could you please wait here for a moment?" Ryuman agreed with a nod. A few moments later, the bank president, Guan Junho, arrived and greeted him, saying, "Thank you for waiting. My name is Guan Junho, president of Manhwa Bank." Ryuman introduced himself and shook hands with the president, who continued, "So, you're the one who won the Natto first-place prize. I sincerely congratulate you, sir." Ryuman graciously replied, "Thank you." The president suggested, "Why don't we go somewhere quieter? Please, follow me." He guided Ryuman to the lottery ticket business team room. As they entered, the secretary was taken aback but greeted them respectfully. The secretary wondered, who's the person next to the president? Is it the president's son? The president introduced Ryuman to the secretary and explained, he is a VVIP who came to collect his prize. Please make sure that he is comfortable. The secretary contemplated, VVIP. Then is he the person who won with 100 tickets? The president dismissed himself, saying, "Now, feel free to go about your business." Ryuman nodded and thanked the president. The secretary thought to herself, "I have to stay calm." She politely offered, "Welcome, sir. Please take a seat here." As Ryuman settled in, she inquired, "Would you like anything to drink?" "We have coffee, juice, green tea." Ryuman declined, replying, "I'm fine. More importantly, I'd like to receive my reward right away." The secretary hesitated but then asked, "Ah, is that so? Then first, would it be all right if I confirmed the Natto tickets, sir?" Ryuman handed over the tickets, and the secretary couldn't help but wonder, I can't believe he bought them all with the same numbers. Can he see the future, or what? She finally said, "I have finished confirming them. All 100 are confirmed to be the first place prize." Ryuman then inquired, "And how much would I receive?" The secretary replied, "So, sir, your rewards are, roughly 22.5 billion won." As he signed the necessary documents, Ryuman contemplated, After taxes, I'd have roughly 15 billion won. Everything happened quickly after I collected my reward. First, I looked for a place to move into. And in the evening, I opened a stock account. Bitcoin was expected to go up by 500% in the next month, so I planned on investing in stocks after increasing my money with Bitcoin. Ryuman returned home and asked his brother, Ryuan, how he felt about it. Ryuan, what do you think of our new house? Do you like it? Ryuman inquired. Ryuan was utterly impressed, responding, I've never seen a house this big and expensive. Well, I've seen photos of them, I guess. Ryuman explained, that was the best among the places we could move into immediately. The security's good there, too. Curious, Ryuan asked, brother, but why did you choose to pay rent instead? We have so much money, we should have just bought it. Ryuman clarified, I don't have any money, though. Other than 1 billion won, I put the rest into Bitcoin. All 14 billion won was invested. Ryuan, somewhat surprised, could only muster, what? Ryuman reassured him, I know what you're about to say, but I didn't do this without thinking about it, alright. I can always earn more money with nothing anyways. After all, I saw 4 sets of numbers in my dreams. Ryuan couldn't believe it, thinking, my god, I've only heard about people dreaming about Nato numbers. He shook Ryuman's shoulder, exclaiming, brother. You remember all of the numbers, right? Don't forget them no matter what, alright? Ryuman replied, I won't. Your big bro's getting dizzy. In his mind, he thought, there's no way I'd forget them when I've done this countless times. Ryuman suggested, regardless, let's eat out for lunch and get ready to leave. Ryuan, puzzled, asked, ready to leave? Where to? Ryuman revealed, I didn't tell you, did I? We're moving today. The scene shifted to Young Min, who was punching the wall with incredible strength, causing it to crack. In his thoughts, he considered, I knew it was a good idea to put all of my stats into strength. Furthermore, I even got the strength rune, which doubles my strength. I got really lucky with my random rune. Young Min punched the wall again consecutively, and as he inspected the damage, he contemplated, I bet even Tyson would be jealous after seeing a punch this strong. This is probably enough for a test. Why don't I try it out in an actual fight now? Young Min seems to be quite upset as he visits Ryuman's house, knocking loudly and shouting for Ryuman. He's frustrated that Ryuman isn't answering his calls or the door, and he recalls a previous incident on New Year's Eve where he had some strong words for Ryuman. In his thoughts, Young Min expresses his anger and determination to confront Ryuman. He believes that Ryuman is hiding inside his house and wonders why he isn't coming out. Young Min pretends to leave but secretly hopes to catch any sign of Ryuman making a sound. It seems there is some tension or conflict between Young Min and Ryuman, which has led Young Min to confront him at his home. Young Min was suddenly interrupted by an elderly man on the staircase. The man asked Young Min what he was doing in front of someone's door. Young Min, seemingly irritated, replied by asking if the man was the landlord. The elderly man confirmed that he was the landlord and questioned Young Min about his purpose. Young Min claimed that he was there to visit a friend who lived in the room. The landlord, after a brief conversation, mentioned that the room was now empty as the student who lived there had moved earlier in the day. However, the landlord was unsure of the new address. This revelation left Young Min both shocked and angry, as he realized that had moved without informing him. Ryuan were in awe of the tall building or apartment they were entering. They marveled at the rotating door at the entrance, and even the security guard had entry cards. Ryuman handed his card to the security guard, who confirmed his identity. Ryuan found it fascinating that each apartment had a security guard in the building. Ryuman mentioned to his brother that the place was amazing. They took the elevator to the 43rd floor. When they entered their room, Ryuan was surprised by its size and asked his brother how big it was. His brother replied that it was 330 square meters, which left Ryuan astonished. He asked if it wasn't too big for just the two of them, to which Ryuman replied that they had a lot of money, so it should be at least this big. Ryuan inquired about the cost of the contract, and Ryuman informed him that it was 500 million won in deposits and 22 million won per month. Ryuan was shocked by the high price. Ryuan thought that not too long ago, he was worried about spending 5,000 won on a convenience store lunch. He expressed his concern, saying that he thought the place was too expensive and that they should get a cheaper house. Ryuman disagreed, explaining that they needed to spend at least this much for better security. He emphasized that the more expensive it was, the better the security. Ryuman thought about the vulnerability of players during the narcolepsy period at the start of every month. He emphasized the need for a safe place to ensure their safety in the other world. Regardless of their achievements in the other world, everything would end if they died in real life. Ryuman asked Ryawan if he liked the house, and Ryawan responded positively. He then apologized to his brother for dragging him into the other world's battles. Ryuman reassured him, slapped him on the back, and suggested they go eat some food, mentioning a good Korean restaurant on the second floor of the building. As they were leaving, Ryuman received a text message, and he thought that someone had noticed that he had moved. He decided to ignore it, thinking he wouldn't meet that person in real life ever again, but perhaps in the other world. Ryuman pocketed his cell phone, and they left the apartment. The day after moving in, Ryuman yawned as he had just woken up. He saw Ryawan dressed and asked where he was going. Ryawan greeted him and mentioned that he had ordered rice cakes and was going out to pick them up. Ryuman was confused about why his brother decided to buy rice cakes. He thought, I don't think this ever happened before, though. He considered that regressing to the past didn't guarantee that everything would go the same way. Ryuman asked Ryawan why he bought rice cakes. Ryawan explained that he needed to hand them out to the neighbors as a good manner since they had moved in. Ryuman praised his brother's thinking, saying it was a good idea to be a good neighbor. Ryuman agreed and said they should greet their neighbors together. He mentioned that he would change and told Ryawan to wait for him. After getting ready, they handed out the rice cakes. They pressed the doorbell and introduced themselves to the residents. They brought rice cakes for their neighbors and received warm thanks in return. In another room, they introduced themselves to more neighbors who had moved into that room. They then proceeded to the 44th floor, where they only had one place left to greet. Ryawan and Ryuman decided to finish the greetings and then return home to rest. Ryawan mentioned that the 44th floor was the penthouse, and it spanned both the 44th and 45th floors. They wondered if the residents were mega rich or perhaps someone from a wealthy family or a celebrity. Ryawan rang the doorbell, but there was no answer. They considered that there might be no one there at the moment. As they were about to leave, suddenly a beautiful woman arrived. It was the actress Seo Aaron with his bodyguard. When Seo Aaron arrived, Ryawan was taken aback by her beauty. Ryawan described her as pretty like an angel. However, they were suddenly blocked by Seo Aaron's bodyguard, who asked them who they were and whether they were fans. Ryuman apologized and explained, "We're your downstairs neighbors." The brothers handed over the rice cakes, and the bodyguard initially seemed to have a different impression. Ryawan offered some rice cake to the bodyguard, but he declined, saying, "I'm fine, and she doesn't eat that kind of thing." The bodyguard led them and used his key card to open the door, allowing Seo Aaron to enter her apartment. Before going inside, she glanced briefly at the brothers. Once Seo Aaron was inside her apartment, Ryuman commented that she didn't know who the bodyguard was supposed to be but found his behavior rude. Ryawan, on the other hand, was more focused on Seo Aaron's beauty and said, "You saw her as well. She's like a siren." A siren. Seo Aaron was looking at the news on her phone, and she noticed reports of actors and actresses dying and not waking up. She couldn't help but wonder how the world was still functioning. Suddenly, she received a text message from Hongxian asking if she had heard the news about Gong Seojin's passing. They decided to go to the eulogy together. Seo Aaron thought about how someone more successful than her had died in the first round of the game. She reflected on her own success and how she had grown in the industry, thanks in part to the company's sponsorship. Her luxurious penthouse was also arranged by them. Her bodyguard, who was with her, asked what she was thinking about. Seo Aaron initially brushed it off but then shared her concerns about surviving the next round. She mentioned how she had grown to the point where she could expect articles about her if she died in the game. The bodyguard reassured her, telling her not to worry about the next round and to trust him to protect her. Seo Aaron expressed her trust in him, thinking back to when the company assigned her a manager and security guard. She admitted that without him, she might have died in the first round. They discussed their new neighbors who had brought over rice cakes as a greeting. Seo Aaron thought it looked delicious and was considerate, but the bodyguard warned her that people would take advantage of her if she let her guard down. In her mind, Seo Aaron felt that the neighbors didn't seem like bad people, but she kept those thoughts to herself. She found it fascinating how people who had gone through the same harsh situation in the other world could act like it was no big deal. She brought up the neighbor who looked older than 15, assuming he must have killed many goblins to survive. The bodyguard agreed, but he downplayed the difficulty, saying only an idiot would have failed. She thought even though you weren't as good as that person, she was referring to Black Scythe. She wondered what he did in real life and whether she could work with someone so skilled to improve her chances of surviving the second round. She credited her survival in the previous round to luck and worried about whether she would make it out okay next time. On Tuesday, January 31st, at 11 a.m., Ryawan was cleaning when Ryuman returned. Ryawan greeted him and asked if he had received the earnings. Ryuman replied, "Yeah, it wasn't that much this time around 15 billion won. In his mind, he remembered it was 17 billion won last time. Ryawan asked if the bank had said anything, considering it was Ryuman's fourth time winning. Ryuman smiled and shared what happened earlier at the bank. The bank president had asked, "You're back again, lucky customer. Just what is your secret?" Ryuman replied, "I told you last time. I received a divine message in my dreams." The president was impressed and commented on wishing to have such dreams. Ryawan was confused and didn't know how to react to that story. He asked if Ryuman was going to put the money into Bitcoin again. Ryuman replied yes, it rose 150 billion. Ryawan suggested that they start pulling out their earnings, expressing concern that it might all go to waste. Ryuman reassured him, saying, "Don't worry too much. I'll take care of it. Let's go get some food." The brothers had a meal at a fancy restaurant, and on their way home, they bought snacks. When they arrived home, it was already 11:55 p.m., just 5 more minutes before the players would be summoned into the game again. Ryuman was in his bed, and Ryawan expressed his concern, saying, "You have to live and come back." Ryuman told him not to worry and mentioned how he had beaten up Bang Taegu. Ryawan admitted it was true but was still worried. Ryuman reassured him again, told him to go to sleep, and said, "I'll be awake with you when you open your eyes." After a moment, Ryuman's soul was summoned to the other world once more. The players were summoned into a forest again, but it was not the same place as before. They noticed the number 1 player, Black Scythe, standing near them, and they were cautious around him. Black Scythe thought that most of the players recognized him since they were not getting too close to him. He wondered when the angel would appear. Young Min was looking at Black Scythe when suddenly an angel appeared. The players noticed that it was a different angel this time and wondered why. The angel explained that the angel in charge of the first round had experienced an accident and wouldn't be appearing, reassuring the humans not to be alarmed. She said she would guide them from now on. Unbeknownst to them, Black Scythe killed that angel and received rewards. The angel then considered announcing the objective of the second round, now that they were all gathered. A system window appeared in front of all the players, revealing the message for round 2's quest. The main quest was to select a regional representative within 3 hours. The participants in all regions were shown as 900,514,645, while the participants in Black Scythe's region were only 5,143. The participants were initially confused, some thinking that they were asked to kill a few more monsters. However, when they looked at the number of completions, they realized that everyone had a chance to survive this time. The angel addressed the confused participants and explained that round 2 had nothing to do with fighting, it would end simply by selecting the region's representative. The selected representative would gain the authority to command others, making them crawl or die if so ordered. The angel highlighted the enormous power that came with this role. In 3 hours, each participant would receive a voting ticket, and they had to choose who would represent their region. One participant asked if there was anything else to it, and the angel confirmed that voting was the sole requirement. This simple act would complete the quest, allowing the participants to return to their homes. It was almost like a break round for them. The participants were overjoyed at the prospect of survival without having to fight. The angel announced the start of the quest, and the 3-hour countdown timer began. The angel encouraged them to discuss and decide among themselves who should become the region's representative and then disappeared. One participant marveled at the simplicity of the quest, questioning if they would indeed survive by just voting in 3 hours. Another player commented on the authority they would gain if chosen as the representative, making it sound easy and enticing. Young Min was frustrated, as he had prepared for a fight and felt like all his preparations were in vain. His friend advised him to let it go, emphasizing that they would all get to live just by voting. However, Young Min couldn't hide his disappointment, especially since he had invested his stats into strength. Ryumin observed the situation and noticed that Young Min had focused on strength. He also contemplated the existence of subquests and hidden quests, realizing that he needed to reach level 10 as quickly as possible to achieve the subquest of obtaining a class. Ryumin ventured into the forest to level up and complete both the main quest and subquest. He encountered a hobgoblin and taunted it, provoking the monster to attack. With a swift dash, Ryumin approached the goblin and killed it with a slash of his knife. A system message announced his victory, and he gained experience points, gold, and stat boosts due to the effect of the Butcher rune. Ryumin realized that venturing deep into the forest to hunt was a good choice since there were likely more goblins in the area. He expected to encounter more of them soon. As a group of goblins approached, Ryumin readied his knife. He engaged the monsters, skillfully taking down the creatures one by one. When he defeated the 50th goblin, he received a significant boost to his stats due to the Butcher rune's effect and leveled up. The time remaining until the voting phase was now 2 hours, 29 minutes, and 24 seconds. Ryumin noted that about 30 minutes had passed. He opened his status window and he checked his level, which was already at 9. He decided to invest his points into dexterity, acknowledging the importance of avoiding fatal blows and the versatility of balancing his stats. However, as he continued his hunt, Ryumin suddenly noticed someone following him. This was unusual, as he had never been tailed in any of his previous attempts. Ryumin reacted to the person following him, pointing his dagger in their direction and demanding that they reveal themselves. He warned them that without declaring their intent, they'd be in trouble. The person eventually stepped forward, revealing themselves as actress Seo Aaron. Ryumin was taken aback by Seo Aaron's presence, thinking to himself, Seo Aaron was the one tailing me. Seo Aaron apologized for following him, and her bodyguard, whose name was Nsangchul, appeared alongside her. Nsangchul also extended his apology, assuring Ryumin that they had no ill intentions. Ryumin looked at the bodyguard's name in the game, recognized Nsangchul's name and realized that he might be connected to Ma Gyunglok, one of his targets. Ma Gyunglok was the eldest son of a major company owner, known by the nickname, Heavenly Demon. Ryumin knew that getting Ma Gyunglok on his side could greatly benefit him. But what he really needs to do is recruit the priest connected to Ma Gyunglok during round 20. Ryumin didn't expect to meet the right-hand man of Ma Gyunglok this early, and he wondered why Nsangchul moving together with Seo Aaron. Suddenly he realized that he was the man standing with Seo Aaron when they met in the apartment. He thought, now that I think about it, I remember there was a story that Ma Gyunglok was sponsoring a celebrity as part of his business. Ryumin inquired about when they started following him, but he wasn't pleased with the changes in his future that this encounter implied. Seo Aaron explained that she had started following him since he set out into the forest. She had seen his performance in round 1, where he had ranked first, and wanted to discuss the possibility of cooperation. However, Ryumin was arrogant in his response, suggesting that the term, cooperate, was used when both parties needed each other. He believed he was doing well on his own and dismissed their offer, stating that he had no intention of forming a team with them. As Ryumin left, Nsangchul expressed his frustration with Ryumin's behavior and questioned the extent of his ego. Seo Aaron, on the other hand, suddenly fell to her knees. Nsangchul asked what happened, and Seo Aaron mentioned that Ryumin's imposing presence had been intense. Nsangchul didn't quite understand the pressure Seo Aaron referred to, attributing her nervousness to the fact that Ryumin had been pointing a sword at her while glaring. Seo Aaron acknowledged that she had wanted to form a team with the rank 1 player but was disappointed with how things had turned out. Nsangchul reiterated that people like Ryumin were often too prideful to consider allies, and Seo Aaron expressed some regret about the situation. They decided to hunt monsters during the remaining time. Deep in the forest, a hobgoblin attempted to sense Ryumin's presence, but Ryumin swiftly appeared behind it, killing the goblin. Ryumin considered the idea of cooperation while he was so busy fighting monsters and decided it wasn't a priority. Leveling up was his main focus. Ryumin received a system message indicating that he had killed the 60th hobgoblin, and all his stats increased due to the effect of the Butcher rune. Suddenly, 5 gnolls appeared, and Ryumin smiled at the challenge. The gnolls charged at him and attempted to coordinate an attack on him, but Ryumin quickly killed all 5 of them while they were in the air. His current kill count reached 65, and he leveled up, receiving a message that he had met the conditions for advancement. Ryuman had reached level 10 and could now access the shop and see the hidden subquest in his system window. The round 2 subquest was to advance before the voting time, and the condition for success was obtaining an advancement item in a class. The reward for completing this subquest was a daily item 50% sale ticket. Ryuman thought the people who see this subquest for the first time usually get confused. Everyone knows getting a class is great, but the problem is that no one knows how to obtain this advancement item. Advancement items can usually only be obtained after meeting special conditions. Warriors need to raise their strength to at least 10 and kill 30 monsters within the same hour to obtain their advancement item. Berserkers need to hunt for a period of time, while bleeding assassins need to successfully backstab monsters multiple times. Meaning, one needs to accomplish actions related to their class to obtain their advancement item. At first, I also repeatedly tracked down monsters and ran away from them in the forest. This got me into the hunter class, but after learning of the reaper class, I just stuck with it. Ryuman used an advancement item, and a system message says you have used an advancement item. Your class cannot be changed, so select with caution. The system shows a message saying will you advance to the class reaper. Ryuman thought I don't even need to think about this. And Ryuman pressed the yes button on the system. A golden aura envelops his whole body and the system message says you have advanced to the class reaper. As an advancement reward, you have obtained the Reaper rune. The effect of the Reaper rune is when used during the day, the weapon attack is doubled, and when used at night, the attack speed is also increased by 50%. While staying still at night, greatly reduces the chance of an enemy detecting you. The obtained rune has automatically been imprinted into his body. Another system message appeared as an advancement reward, you have obtained the Reaper's scythe. The Reaper's scythe is now on his inventory. He thought I got both the rune and weapon for my advancement. The system message says for the completion of the subquest, you have obtained a daily item 50% sale ticket. Your rank has increased from beginner to apprentice. Ryuman thought my rank increased as well. In Ryuman's status, the Reaper class was added and he has 6 stats points to use. Ryuman had successfully advanced to the Reaper class, which put him in the apprentice rank. He explained the player ranks, ranging from beginner to grandmaster, and how players could gain new class skills or have additional functions unlocked as they advanced. He had learned the Reaper class skill called less than insignia of death greater than, which allowed him to create an insignia visible only to the target and the caster. This skill made the target's remaining health visible, and every attack he made dealt an additional 100% damage to the target. Ryuman had also obtained the rare weapon, less than Reaper's scythe greater than, which had specific restrictions and requirements for use. After advancing, Ryuman received a system message that he had been identified as the first player to advance, which awarded him the first advancement reward, a random gold pouch. He also learned the neutral skill tracking as a reward, which allowed him to track the location of a desired target, provided the target's face and nickname matched. Eager to test this new skill, Ryuman decided to track Wang Youngmin's location. The system confirmed that their nickname and face matched and revealed Wang Youngmin's location, which was 190 meters away from him. A blue arrow appeared on the ground, guiding him to Youngmin's location. Ryuman considered following the arrow to check on Wang Youngmin, who had previously been 2 kilometers away in the forest during their last attempt. Seo Aaron and Insangchul were trying to flee from their pursuers. Seo Aaron was in pain, unable to run further due to an arrow wound. And Insangchul encouraged her to keep moving, despite the pain, emphasizing the importance of their survival in this world, which would determine whether they could return to the real world. Suddenly, a voice echoed loudly behind them, asking them where they thought they were going. They turned to find Youngmin's group approaching, and Insangchul was frustrated, thinking that they had been caught because of Seo Aaron. Youngmin taunted Insangchul, asking if he wanted to fight them, given the number of people in Youngmin's group. Insangchul, however, questioned why they were being attacked, as they had done nothing to provoke it. Youngmin clarified that they were after something, specifically Seo Aaron, and showed no interest in Insangchul. Youngmin's group debated whether the person claiming to be Seo Aaron was genuine or an imitator trying to impersonate her due to her fame. Youngmin insisted that they didn't care about Insangchul, focusing solely on Seo Aaron, while his group laughed. Seo Aaron was visibly frightened by the situation. Youngmin offered Insangchul a deal, proposing that he would let Insangchul go if he left Seo Aaron behind. And Sangchul considered the offer, acknowledging that he would have abandoned Seo Aaron without a second thought if Youngmin had initially stated that Seo Aaron was the target. However, he faced a dilemma because protecting Seo Aaron was essential to impressing director Ma Gyunglok. And Sangchul prepared to fight, assuming a fighting stance. Youngmin was surprised by this and questioned Sangchul's intentions. And Sangchul challenged Youngmin's actions, labeling them as criminal behavior. Youngmin mocked the idea of laws applying in this world, claiming that reporting such actions to the authorities in the real world would be futile, as there was no way to prove their identities in this alternate reality. And Sangchul was frustrated by Youngmin's attitude but acknowledged that there was truth in his words. He knew that merely talking wouldn't make Youngmin back down, and he had no choice but to fight, even with his injured body. Suddenly Sangchul saw a man standing beside the three and Sangchul said, "You are Black Scythe." Youngmin thought, what? When did he arrive, that guy? Black Scythe inquired about the situation. Youngmin replied, "Bro, how about you just keep going on your..." Youngmin wasn't finished with his sentences when Black Scythe said, "I wasn't asking you." He turns to Sangchul and asks about the situation. And Sangchul explained that Youngmin's group was targeting Seo Aaron, and they had ambushed them. Black Scythe took a gaze in Youngmin and asks, is what he's saying true? Youngmin urged Black Scythe to continue on his way, stating that it was not his concern. However, Black Scythe walked in front of Seo Aaron and Sangchul, and his aura turned black and red as he declared that these were people he knew. Youngmin inquired about Black Scythe's intentions, to which Black Scythe responded by summoning his Reaper Scythe and protecting Seo Aaron and Sangchul, stating that he could not leave a wounded person behind.
Did you find the story enjoyable? If you did, I'd greatly appreciate it if you could show your support by liking and subscribing to my channel. In the next video, we'll continue with the next part, so stay tuned for that. If you have any suggestions or thoughts that could enhance the content and make it more interesting, please don't hesitate to leave a comment on this video. Thank you for watching, and peace.